Welcome to Cruising and Musing. I'm your host, Rob. Had a little moment of just had to stop and get some ice cream. Hadn't had any in over a month. And I'm coming to you with the idea of I've seen something get offered and come up in my feed today that I think I need to talk about and bring people, back to story time and take a little walk down memory lane on. And that is the adjustable rate mortgage popped up. And I ain't seen these since, the big housing bubble and crash and everything of '08 that, brought out the whole too big to fail back then. And, considering the things that have gone on in the last year with the government and finances, we thought things could get more ridiculous than then. Oh man, did we underestimate just how crazy people were willing to get about money and what the government was willing to do. But if this sounds interesting to you, go ahead, click that subscribe button. We're looking to get to 50. And as we go through, if you agree with me, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, leave a comment. But, so to get to where we're at right now, let's go back to, 2007, 2008, and take a look at what was going on. I wish I could take you back down memory lane with some soundtracks here and, talk about how Lady Gaga was top of the charts and, what was coming into style and going out of style. Thank you. But unfortunately, just don't have that kind of time. So the number one thing I want you to take away from this is that the housing market was in a very similar condition between now and then. Wages were stagnant. They were kind of locked in. The prices of houses were way up because there was this, housing bubble going on, and things are basically being declared to be worth way more than they're actually worth. In fact, I should not have made that turn that direction. I'm never going to get out if I go this way. And what this develops into is that people needed a way to lower their monthly payments. So you would have, like a $150,000 house would then get evaluated for $250,000, and it's not that, one particular house is like that. It's the entire market. It's the same thing that's going on today where, you have people who have all kinds of money moving into areas and they're driving up the price for these houses that just, it's not there. The value of the house isn't there, and it's being overvalued and expanded. So people are taking out more and more money because the interest rate's relatively low. I think it was still a little higher then than it is right now. But right now we're still used to the idea of, very, very low interest rates to pull us out of what happened with the Rona. So people would, instead of taking a $150,000 loan out for a $150,000 house, because of the inflated valuation of the houses, would be pulling $150,000, or they would be signing up to buy these $250,000 houses because that's what the value, or that's what you had to pay to get it, was. And the house itself would only be worth, in reality, about $150,000, which isn't a huge problem if you're at a fixed rate mortgage, or you have a job where you can afford to pay that kind of stuff. Well, what happens is as you go into '08 and you get this housing bubble just kind of burst, people start to lose their jobs. It's a big slowdown chain effect. The Great Recession is what we called it, and it introduced us to terms like too big to fail, and it saw the first $1 trillion stimulus packages ever passed as we went from Bush to Obama. Now, what this meant for you as, a person, if you got stuck in a bad way with this, is that you would pay $250,000 for a house that you thought was worth $250,000, or that you knew wasn't worth $250,000, but you couldn't get anything else and you needed to buy the house because you couldn't get into a rental or anything, or you just had to get out of the rental because you're burning money, paying rent. Let's say that out of this $250,000 you paid for the house, you still got $200,000 left on that loan, and you're 5 years in from when you got it, and your situation has changed, but you're okay. You're still making your bills each month. The problem is you signed up for an adjustable rate mortgage, and you just left the qualifying entry level interest rate. So now the $250,000 loan that you've got paid down to $200,000 just went from being a 3.5% interest loan up to a 6% interest loan, or a 7% interest loan. And now your monthly payment, instead of being like $1,600 on your mortgage, is about to become $2,000. And since you don't have the job you had back then, you just can't afford that jump of $400 overnight like that. It's the same thing people are experiencing now, where the rent's going up by 25% each year. That's what people were experiencing, but it was with their mortgages, not with the rent. Because on those adjustable rate mortgages, once you get out of the introductory balance in that first 5-year period, all of a sudden you're getting adjusted to what they call market value, or market value plus whatever they want to mark you up on, because no one read the fine print on these things. This is the tip of the iceberg. This isn't like the whole of what was going on with that. I encourage you to do some research and read up on what they called ninja loans before you start thinking that the housing assistance, like what they're offering right now out in California, is a good idea. They're really just signing up to make prisoners out of people, or bankrupt everyone, and history's repeating itself. I'll put it that way before I go on a rant. So you have people on these adjustable rate mortgages. They get out of the introductory rate, and their mortgage is suddenly $400 more a month, and they just can't soak it. And what that means is that all these houses go into foreclosure, and this kind of kicks in right around the same time that the bubble bursts, and everything becomes this spiral of going down. The housing market is dropping. You can't afford your mortgage anymore because the housing value just dropped. Your $250,000 house is now worth the $150,000 it's really worth now, but you owe $200,000 on it still, and you're paying this exorbitant interest rate on it with the extra $400 each month you can't afford. But you also can't sell it, because even if you sell it, you're still left with $50,000. Say you sell it for the absolute max you can, you get the $150,000. You're still left with the $50,000 balance of now unsecured credit that you can't get rid of, and you're still trying to pay that. So you're $50,000 in the hole, no matter what. And so many people found themselves in this position. And this is what we're sort of gearing up to now with these adjustable rate mortgages. Home values are so greatly bloated. They're starting to bring back those A.R.M.s. I saw one that was offering a 3% interest rate, introductory, for the first 5 years. And I'm sorry to say it, but 5 years from now, we're not going to be back down at, a 1% or a 0.5% interest rate. It's going up. We just printed 2/3 of the money that's ever been printed in the last couple years. Interest is going to have to stay up to bring that inflation back down, or, to level things out for quite a while. That's the only lever they really have to adjust that. So where are you going to be if you take one of those A.R.M.s out, let's say a year forward from now, when the housing market cools and the prices come back down, but you took the A.R.M out and you owe $250,000, only now it's 2023 or 2025, what have you, with whatever the timetable works out to, and you're now stuck in this house just like they were back then. This is history repeating itself, or at least rhyming a little. And I just can't believe that people, number one, banks are so greedy they're trotting these out again. But number two, that there's probably going to be people that fall for it out there, because so many of the people who lived through that time never bothered to learn what was happening or why it was happening. They just left it at eat the rich and, didn't educate past that. Or, you guys were born too late. Like I remember the towers coming down, it's burned into my memory. And, I've mentioned before, I was so hard up for money. I had 3 jobs and couldn't get 10 hours a week between them during this time period. So this is burnt into my mind as well. But, maybe some of the people listening to this were little kids or, much younger teens, and they just don't have that memory, or, like I said, were too young or too occupied with other things to really learn what was going on to drive everything down. So, yeah, this is kind of my warning and words of wisdom is please go back and look at the Great Recession, the 2008 housing market crash, adjustable rate mortgages, and what's called ninja loans, and try to get a handle on what's going on back then so you can see how this is coming back around again today. Do please excuse the mess in my carport here. We're waiting for Studio A to get back from the mechanic so we can get the car covers out and on top of things, because Studio B is getting put away for the summer. Anyways, that's my message. It's, hey, the A.R.M.s are coming out again. Don't fall for them. I'm not a financial professional, but I know a bad idea when I see it, and this was a bad idea back then, and it's a bad idea now. So, educate yourself on this, and remember, the bankers are not on your side. The banker only gets paid if they give you the mortgage. They're not your friends. They're going to make it work for you, and you're going to be happy they made it work for you until it comes time when that introductory rate ends, and suddenly you're holding the dime for an extra $300 to $500 you might not have. And you might be holding the dime for the extra $300 to $500 on a property that's not worth what you still owe on it. And when it goes into foreclosure, you're going to be stuck with that kind of debt, declaring bankruptcy and having to rebuild your credit from square one. And you still don't get all the way out of your debt, especially if you're carrying student loans, and it doesn't fix anything for you. So please be careful, guard yourself, educate yourself, and if you have any comments, throw them down below. I'm Rob. This has been Cruising and Musing, one of our shorter videos.